So far, I've done 2 videos of this kind highlighting undervalued players compared to more premium players, despite similar age, situations, and production. But since we're in the middle of rookie draft season, I thought it would be fun to continue this series on now by looking at rookies in this year's 2022 rookie draft class, and then highlight 2 rookies that I think are being undervalued right now in rookie drafts compared to more premium rookie assets. The way this will work is I'm going to show you guys stats from 2 similar players, but one of them is valued at a premium in rookie drafts and the other is valued as the generic version, and then we'll break it down and discuss from there. So first up, we have a wide receiver comparison. So the premium wide receiver just turned 22 years old in March. Coming out of college, his profile looks like this. He's 5'9", 178 pounds, ran a 4.35 40-yard dash, a 36-inch vertical, a 121-inch broad jump, a 19-year-old 20% breakout age, and a 19-year-old 30% breakout age, 38% career dominator rating. He hit on 9 of my 12 markers for wide receivers. He was an early declare, and his career receiving stat line from 3 years in college was 189 receptions for 2,441 yards and 16 touchdowns. Then the generic receiver is 21 and a half years old. Coming out of college, his profile looks like this. He's 5'8", 178 pounds, ran a 4.44 40-yard dash, 34.5-inch vertical, 118-inch broad jump, a 19-year-old 20% breakout age, a 20-year-old 30% breakout age, a 37% career dominator rating, and he hit on 10 out of the 12 markers that I'm looking for wide receivers. He is also an early declare, and his career receiving stat line from 3 years in college was 195 receptions for 2,248 yards and 10 touchdowns. And to further feed the comparison, both young wide receivers went to SEC schools in college. They were both second-round picks in the NFL draft, and both were drafted by teams in New York City. Okay, that last one might have made things a bit confusing now, and that's okay because I cheated a little bit here, because the premium wide receiver is actually Elijah Moore from last year's rookie draft class, currently valued as the Dynasty wide receiver 23, and had a rookie ADP of the 2.04 in Superflex leagues last year. The generic wide receiver is this year's Wan'Dale Robinson, currently valued as the Dynasty wide receiver 63, and has a rookie ADP of the 3.03 in Superflex leagues right now. So what is causing the discrepancy? Well, for one, I mean, we've already seen Elijah Moore do it at the NFL level, or at least he started to do it in the middle of last year before he got hurt. The Jets made it a point, however, to go out and get more weapons around Zach Wilson, which isn't necessarily to say that they don't like Elijah Moore. They're just doing what's best for their team. But for fantasy, that might not be the best thing for Elijah Moore, though, because it's more competition for targets with a higher drafted rookie coming in to be more of the prototypical alpha wide receiver on that team. Not to mention that they also still have Corey Davis, and they also drafted a very good running back in Breece Hall. The Jets actually being a good team is by no means a negative. In fact, I would actually prefer it for these players for fantasy, but these moves are putting more into a specific slot plus role where he can still be a fantasy wide receiver too, but the ceiling just isn't there across an entire ceiling. Basically, just imagine what we've seen so far from CeeDee Lamb, not what we think he could be, but what he's actually done, which is, we'll just say basically 2 1,000-yard seasons to start, but he hasn't finished higher than wide receiver 20 on the season yet. So projecting that to Elijah Moore, I definitely think he's a very fine back-end wide receiver 2, if not probably better as your wide receiver 3, but a top 10 fantasy ceiling isn't necessarily going to be there unless Zach Wilson just completely goes nuclear. Moving over to Wan'Dale Robinson now, he hasn't been a player I've necessarily been on, but I've we'll just kind of say rediscovered him recently, like that old song that you used to jam to, but you haven't heard in a while, and then you're reminded what a banger it is. That's Wan'Dale Robinson for me right now. Then the biggest knock that I heard on him all draft season was he's too small, which is a major point of my comparison of him to Elijah Moore because they're the same size, and that's not a concern that I really heard with Elijah Moore, and I'm not hearing right now that he's valued as a mid wide receiver 2 in Dynasty. Size aside, Wan'Dale has a fantastic profile and was extremely productive in college. He began his career at Nebraska and was immediately their wide receiver 2 on a low volume and production offense. Nebraska actually used Wan'Dale in a hybrid role in his 2 years there, with 91 receptions and 134 rush attempts in 18 games played. And it was actually that usage that caused Wandale to transfer from Nebraska back to his home state and kickstart the Kentucky offense with a new offensive coordinator and a new quarterback. That decision certainly paid off because Wandale was utilized completely as a wide receiver in his third season, caught 104 passes for over 1,300 yards, scored 7 touchdowns, and it earned him a second-round selection in the NFL draft. The dude can play, and honestly, the Giants' landing spot isn't terrible with the potential of new head coach Brian Daboll after what he did in Buffalo. The depth chart also isn't really all that terrifying to me because he's behind Kenny Golladay, who, let's admit, hasn't been Kenny Golladay for like 3 years now. Sterling Shepard, who I still think is good, but just can't stay on the field at all and is a free agent after the end of this season. And then we have Kadarius Toney, who apparently is already on the trading block. And I still believe, and it seems like the Giants' new regime kind of believes, that he was an overrated first-round pick from last year. Yes, Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback, but they're getting a new quarterback next year 100%. So this situation is not terrible long-term, starting next year in 2023 with a new quarterback, if not even the potential for some opportunity in 2022. I think the fact that he is at minimum the exact same prospect as Elijah Moore was last year, but is cheaper not only in startups right now, but rookie drafts as well as potentially a third-round rookie pick, like that discrepancy just doesn't make sense to me. And you don't need to go out and trade Elijah Moore for Wandale plus, but I wanted to highlight that their upsides are very similar, and with Wandale's current price, it's not even hard to acquire him at all, even if you already have Elijah Moore. So just go out there and get Wandale Moore on your team. Next up, we have a running back comparison, and I promise both of these players are rookies this year to help you out with guessing on who they are. So the premium back just turned 22 back in February, and coming out of college, his profile looks like this. He's 5'10", 218 pounds, ran a 4.59 40-yard dash, 34.5-inch vertical, 119-inch broad jump. He hit on 3 of my 8 markers for running backs, and his career stat lines from 4 years in college was 329 carries for 1,806 rushing yards and 23 rushing touchdowns, then also added 45 receptions for 422 yards and 5 touchdowns through the air. The generic back turned 22 back in April, so not a huge age difference. Coming out of college, his profile looks like this. He's 5'11", 224, ran a 4.6 40-yard dash with a 33-inch vertical, 120-inch broad jump. He hit on 6 of my 8 markers for running backs, and his career stat lines from 4 years in college was 452 carries for 2,899 yards and 36 touchdowns, while also adding 46 receptions for 437 yards and a receiving touchdown through the air. And again, to add more information, both backs were day 3 picks, drafted to teams currently projected to have under 5 wins, and both landing spots were deemed pretty favorable for a running back to go there before the draft. So if you haven't guessed it yet, our premium player is Dameon Pierce, 4th round draft pick to the Houston Texans, currently valued as the rookie RB6, taken around the early to mid 2nd round in Superflex rookie drafts. The generic back is Tyler Algier, the 5th round pick to the Atlanta Falcons, currently valued as the rookie RB9, taken at the beginning of the 3rd round in Superflex rookie drafts, sometimes sneaking in to the back end of the 2nd. So why the discrepancy here? Well, the biggest reason for the potential full round difference in rookie drafts is because we view the Houston Texans as a better landing spot than Atlanta, with less potential competition for touches, and we also view Dameon Pierce as a better prospect than Tyler Algier coming into the draft. And by we, I mean just the community overall, not necessarily myself. But my issue with this is twofold. So first, I'm not convinced that Pierce is necessarily the better player, or by far the better player. If he was, why was he splitting carries with undrafted free agent Malik Davis in his final 2 years at Florida? Why couldn't he cut into New York Jets legend LaMichael Pirines usage in his first 2 years at Florida? If he couldn't make a larger impact in college against those 2 players, why are we expecting him to so easily ascend the Texans depth chart and beat out Marlon Mack, who was very, very good, and then also Rex Burkhead, 2 proven players at the NFL level? Algier, on the other hand, was a workhorse at BYU, and he was an efficient one at that. After dabbling at the linebacker position his sophomore year, he committed to the running back position and rushed for 2,700 yards and 36 touchdowns over his final 2 seasons. He also displayed usage in the passing game with 28 receptions in 2021. So are we really sure that Pierce is the better player? Like, are we absolutely sure? Because right now, Pierce is entirely a projection that he was underutilized in college. but Tyler Algier showed us that he could do it 2 years in a row. My second issue is the unwavering belief that the Texans are the better landing spot. I've already expressed my concerns about Pierce even being able to beat out the vets on that team right now, but let's assume he does, and from day one, he is the starting running back for the Houston Texans. Do we honestly want the starting running back for the Houston Texans in fantasy? This is a team projected to win 3.5 games in 2022 based on FanDuel Sportsbook's lines. The last workhorse running back that the Houston Texans had was Carlos Hyde back in 2019, and he rushed for 245 carries for over 1,000 yards in that season, but he finished as the RB 29, averaging less than 10 fantasy points per game. David Johnson was the RB 21 in 2020, but he ended the season with 3 20-plus point games because of 17 receptions in 3 games and then scoring in every single game. He averaged 11 points per game the entire rest of the season, not counting those 3 games. Now, I get it. Atlanta is not really any better from a winning perspective, as they're projected 1 additional win from FanDuel. His competition is Cordell Patterson and Damian Williams after they already cut Mike Davis, and I have more confidence that Algier can beat out Williams based on his college profile and usage than I do Dameon Pierce potentially beating out either or both Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead. You probably don't remember because of how bad he was like the entire year, but Mike Davis finished the season last year as the RB 33 on over 180 touches that he's leaving behind. Yes, his receiving usage helped him a little bit with 44 receptions, but Algier also showed that he can be used in that regard more than Dameon Pierce did in college. So if we assume that both of their ceilings become realized in 2022, with Dameon Pierce just becoming Carlos Hyde again and Algier becoming Mike Davis, that means Dameon Pierce rushes for 1,000 yards, but finishes as the RB 29, averaging under 10 points per game. Algier, yes, has lower volume, but gets better fantasy touches, finishes as the RB 33, averaging 8.5 fantasy points per game. At the end of the day, you're not actually happy with either one of those guys, but at least one of them was a 3rd-round rookie pick, not a high second that you were expecting a lot of things from. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me post this poll recently showing athletic measurables in college production and asking you to blindly choose which rookie running back you would take. In that poll, 84% of y'all actually chose Tyler Algier over Dameon Pierce straight up, just based on those measurables and production. Listen, I get it. Dameon Pierce was drafted a whole round higher than Algier and does have less competition to a starting job in terms of NFL talent that he has to beat. He should be drafted higher than Algier in rookie drafts. I definitely have it ranked that way. However, the difference between the two, to me, is not a full round of ADP and rookie drafts, and my expectation that Pierce is a better rookie running back definitely does not mean that he's worth his high 2nd round ADP right now. So those are the 2 rookies from the 2022 class that I believe are undervalued compared to their premium counterparts. Be sure to give this video a like if it will help you in your rookie drafts. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with me on anything that I said, especially if you think I'm an idiot just like Dan Mullen was for not playing Dameon Pierce more. Trust me, I'm very aware of the Dan Mullen situation with Dameon Pierce. And then finally, just be sure to hit that subscribe button for more amazing content from this DLF YouTube channel. And with that all being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching. We'll catch y'all later.